AITA for exposing my sister's fake cancer diagnosis to our parents after she lied for 8 months. Hi Reddit, I'm a 34F, and I'm completely torn up over this mess with my sister, 31F. I need to know if I'm the bad person for telling our parents that she's been lying about having cancer for the past 8 months to get them to pay her bills. This has blown up our family, and my sister's acting like I've ruined her life. I'm questioning everything, and this is gonna be long, so bear with me. I just need to get it all out and hear your thoughts. 8 months ago, my sister, let's call her Sarah, sat us down and dropped a bomb. She'd been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. It hit us like a freight train. Sarah's always been the free-spirited one, chasing dreams and sometimes making impulsive choices, but hearing she was sick was devastating. I remember my mom crying for hours, and my dad, who's usually stoic, just went silent. Our parents are in their late 60s, retired, and live a few hours away in a cozy little house. When Sarah said she was starting aggressive chemo and didn't want to go through it alone, they didn't hesitate. They packed up, left their home, and moved into her apartment to take care of her. They cooked, cleaned, paid her rent, and even gave her cash for medical bills because she said her insurance wasn't covering everything. I tried to be the supportive big sister. I'd call every day, bring over meals, and check in constantly. I'd lie awake at night, crying, imagining losing her. She shaved her head, saying it was to get ahead of the hair loss, and started wearing colorful headscarves. She'd talk about her treatments with this brave face, saying things like, "It's rough, but I'm fighting." She'd post on Instagram with hashtags like #CancerWarrior and #StayStrong, and I'd feel so proud of her strength. But as the months went on, something started to feel off. I feel awful even admitting this, but I couldn't shake the feeling that her story wasn't adding up. At first, I ignored my doubts because who questions someone with cancer? It felt wrong to even think it. But little things kept piling up. Sarah was supposedly going through aggressive chemo, which I know from friends who've been through it is exhausting, nausea, fatigue, the works. But Sarah was out at bars until 2 a.m., going to concerts, and even took a weekend trip to a music festival a few months ago. She'd post selfies looking radiant, captioned with stuff like "living my best life despite the fight." I'd ask how she was feeling, and she'd say, "I'm just pushing through." It didn't add up. She had way too much energy for someone in her situation. Then there was the way she kept us away from her appointments. She insisted on going to the oncologist alone, saying things like, "It's too emotional for me to have family there," or "I need to do this on my own." My mom begged to go with her, just to hold her hand, but Sarah always had an excuse. Once, I offered to drive her, and she got so flustered I backed off. She'd leave the house for a few hours, come back, and act like nothing happened. It was weird. When we asked for details, like what kind of chemo she was on, who her doctor was, or what her prognosis was, she'd dodge the question. She'd say, "It's complicated," or "I don't want to stress you out with the details." It felt like she was hiding something. I also started noticing she didn't look sick. I hate saying this, but her skin was glowing, she hadn't lost weight, and her shaved head seemed more like a bold fashion choice than a necessity. She'd wear dramatic makeup and post selfies looking healthier than ever. It didn't match what I knew about chemo. And then there was the money. Our parents were covering her rent, utilities, and giving her cash for medical expenses. Sarah said her part-time job wasn't enough, and our parents, being the generous people they are, didn't question it. But I saw her buying new clothes, getting manicures, and living a lifestyle that didn't scream struggling cancer patient. It started to feel like she was taking advantage of them. I kept these thoughts to myself for months because I felt so guilty doubting her. I'd lie awake wondering if I was a terrible sister for even thinking she might be lying. But the doubts kept growing, and I couldn't ignore them anymore. Last week, everything changed. I live in a small town where everyone knows each other, and I was grabbing coffee when I ran into Lisa, the office manager at the only oncology practice in our area. We're not super close, but we've chatted at community events. I mentioned Sarah's cancer, just saying, "It's been so hard with my sister's treatment." Lisa looked confused and said, "I'm sorry, who are you talking about?" My stomach dropped. I repeated Sarah's name, thinking maybe Lisa didn't recognize it. But she shook her head and said, "We don't have a patient by that name." I tried to stay calm, but my mind was racing. This was the only oncology practice for miles. Where was Sarah going for her chemo? I asked a few more questions without being too pushy, and Lisa confirmed they had no record of anyone matching Sarah's description. I left the coffee shop in a daze, feeling like the world was spinning. I couldn't let it go. I started digging, trying to be discreet so Sarah wouldn't suspect anything. I called the hospital she claimed she was getting treatment at, asking general questions about their oncology department. I didn't pretend to be her or anything, just asked if they had a patient with her name. They couldn't share details due to privacy laws, but the receptionist's hesitation told me enough. I went through Sarah's social media with a fine-tooth comb. Her posts were full of vague inspirational quotes and hashtags like #CancerSucks, but there were no hospital photos, no treatment updates, nothing concrete. I found photos of her tagged at parties during times she said she was recovering from chemo. It was like she was living a double life. By this point, I was almost certain she was lying, but I needed to hear it from her. I was so angry, but also heartbroken. How could my sister, who used to be my best friend, do this? Last Friday, I asked her to come over to my place. I didn't tell her why, just said we needed to talk. When she showed up, she was her usual bubbly self, wearing a bright headscarf and acting like everything was fine. I didn't waste time. I looked her in the eyes and said, "Sarah, I know you're not sick. I talked to someone at the oncologist's office, and they've never heard of you." Her face went white. She tried to play it off, saying, "You're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about." But I wasn't letting her off the hook. I laid out everything, the energy, the secret appointments, the money, the coffee shop conversation. That's when she broke down crying. She admitted everything. There was no cancer, no chemo, no oncologist. She'd shaved her head to sell the lie and had been faking it for 8 months. Why? She was drowning in debt, credit card bills, student loans, the works. She couldn't afford her apartment and was too ashamed to admit it. So, she made up the cancer story to get our parents to move in and pay her bills. She said she felt trapped and didn't know how else to survive. I was speechless. My sister had manipulated our entire family, let us worry ourselves sick, and taken advantage of our parents' love. I felt betrayed, but also this weird pity. She must have been so desperate to go this far. I told her she had 24 hours to tell our parents the truth. I wasn't going to keep her secret, this was too big, too cruel. She begged me not to make her do it, saying it would ruin her relationship with them. She said she was planning a miraculous recovery next month, where she'd claim the cancer was gone and move on like nothing happened. I couldn't believe she thought she could just fake a recovery and sweep this under the rug. I told her, "Sarah, you've been lying to us for months. You've hurt Mom and Dad more than you realize, they just don't know it yet. If you don't tell them, I will." She cried, pleaded, and even tried to guilt-trip me, saying, "Family should protect each other, not expose each other." But I wasn't budging. This wasn't about loyalty, it was about doing what's right. She had 24 hours, and that was it. She didn't tell them. The 24 hours passed, and she dodged my calls. So, yesterday, I sat our parents down. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I told them everything, my suspicions, the coffee shop encounter, Sarah's confession. I showed them her social media posts and pointed out the lack of evidence. I explained how she'd been using their money to cover her debts. My mom started sobbing immediately. My dad just sat there, staring at the floor, his face a mix of shock and betrayal. They'd given up their home, their savings, their peace of mind to take care of Sarah, and it was all a lie. My mom kept saying, "How could she do this to us?" My dad finally said, "We raised her better than this." I felt like I was breaking their hearts all over again, but I couldn't let Sarah keep lying to them. When Sarah found out I'd told our parents, she lost it. She called me screaming, saying I'd ruined her life and had no right to out her. She accused me of betraying her, saying, "Family sticks together, not tears each other apart." She claimed she was going to tell them eventually, just needed time to figure it out. She even said I was jealous of the attention she was getting and that's why I exposed her. That one hurt. Jealous? I'd spent months crying over her, rearranging my life to support her, worrying myself sick. The idea that I'd do this out of spite was absurd. I told her, "You ruined your own life when you chose to lie." I just made sure the truth came out. Right now, our family is a mess. Sarah's still living with our parents because they're too kind to kick her out, but the house is like a war zone. My parents are barely speaking to her, and my mom cries every time I call. My dad's just distant. Sarah's barely talking to me, and when she does, it's to call me the bad guy. I'm starting to wonder if I should have handled this differently. Maybe I could have given her more time or helped her come clean in a gentler way. But then I think about how she let our parents uproot their lives, how she took their money, how she let us all believe she was dying. It makes me so angry I can barely look at her. I'm stuck. Reddit. Was I the bad person for telling our parents? I feel like I had no choice. Her lie was hurting them emotionally and financially, and it wasn't sustainable. She would have been caught eventually, and the longer it went on, the worse it would have been. But part of me wonders if I should have protected her, like she said, and given her a chance to fix it herself. She's acting like I've destroyed her life, and it's messing with my head. Can our family even come back from this? Sarah's still in debt, and now she's lost our parents' trust. I want her to get help, maybe therapy or financial counseling, but she's not open to it. My parents are talking about seeing a therapist to process this betrayal, which breaks my heart. I feel guilty for being the one who told them, even though it wasn't my lie. We used to be so close, Sarah and I. We'd stay up late talking, share everything, laugh until we couldn't breathe. Now I don't know if I can ever trust her again. How do you rebuild after something like this? And how do I support my parents without feeling like I'm picking sides? I'm so overwhelmed, and I need your perspective. TLDR, my sister, 31F, lied about having cancer for 8 months to get our parents to move in and pay her bills because she was in debt. I, 34F, found out, confronted her, and gave her 24 hours to tell our parents. She didn't, so I told them. Now she says I ruined her life and betrayed her. AITA for exposing her lie? Reddit, what do you think? Was I wrong to tell our parents, or did Sarah bring this on herself? Has anyone dealt with a family member lying about something this big? How do you move forward? Thanks for reading this wall of text. I'm just so lost and could use your advice.